song from our drum group and the retirement of our colors from our color guard. I again want to thank all of you that are here. And you know, what I'm going to ask our veterans who are students here on this campus a little bit about their own motivation for joining the military as American Indians. And also, you know, reflecting on their service now, you know, maybe what would they tell the next generation of natives? I had one friend tell me that he probably served in the post-Vietnam era, but he wasn't sure that he would give the same encouragement to his son. So, you know, things can change over generations. Today we have Amber Nicole Longoria, who's Apache descent, born in Denver, and at the age of 19, she joined the United States Navy and served from 2003 to 2006. 2002 to 2006. Amber is an economics major at CU Denver and is an officer of the Veteran Student Organization at CU. She was a part of the team that won the Student Veterans of America 2014 National Business Plan competition. She taught the class Recruitment and Retention at CU Denver's 2014 Student Leadership Summit. She served with Points of Light, a branch of AmeriCorps, as CU's Veteran Student Success Coordinator. She led volunteer opportunities with Easter Seals, the Rary Campus Veterans Resource Center, co-hosted the Invisible War fundraiser with Women Veterans of Colorado, launched the first annual Veterans Art Showcase, played a major role in throwing the 4th annual Colorado Veterans in Higher Education Summit, and helped over 100 student veterans develop and market their personal brand to the career fields of their choice. She was also the keynote speaker at Johnson & Wales' 9/11 Memorial Service this year. Reed Zephyr is a member of the Oglala Lakota Nation. Reed is a graduate student in political science at CU Denver. He is the assistant director of the Fourth World Center for the Study of Indigenous Law and Policy, and is the president of CU Denver's Native American Student Organization. He is a credentialed delegate to the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues. Reed served in the United States Navy. We have 2 Navy veterans with us today, from 1993 to 1997, and with an honorable discharge. In the Navy, he worked as a parachute rigger for the VAW 117 in Air Wing Squadron. His tour of duty was in San Diego. So please welcome Amber, and then we'll hear from Reed.
I'm going to go first. So, I mean, that's about it. I joined the Navy in 1993. I was sitting with a very good friend of mine named Cheske Spencer. Many of you know him from the Twilight Saga. He wasn't really interested in acting. I wasn't interested in the military, but we had to do something because we partied for like a month straight. So I said, James, what are you going to do, man? He's like, I think I'm going to go to New York and try to be an actor. He said, what are you going to do? I said, I think I'm going to join the Navy. And we shook hands, and the rest is history. I decided to join the Navy in particular because my grandfather was in the Navy, and after my parents split up in 1980, we had to live with them on the Fort Peck Indian Reservation for about 2 years. And I'll never forget the first time I saw my grandfather in his Navy dress whites. I didn't even know what the Navy was or what the dress whites were, but I remember him coming out of the house in these dress whites, and I was just shocked and amazed, and he was like, it was godlike. And I said, I want to do that. I want to be like my grandfather. And when I decided to join the Navy, he just had one very specific rule for me as a Native. He said, Reed, join whatever service you want, but do not join the 7th Cavalry because of what they did to your father's people. And so I respected that. I don't know if that rule holds true to this day, but in my family it does. So I went into the Navy because as growing up poor on reservations, nobody was going to pay for my education. So the first reason I joined was selfish reasons. I wanted them to pay for my education. And the second reason was I wanted to serve my country. our people have been protecting our homeland here for thousands of years, and protecting this land is nothing new to us. And so it was an honor and a privilege. But at the end of the day, I had to pick up my own tab for school. And when I graduated in 1997 and went back to Albuquerque, where I was originally from, or living at the time, a college degree only cost $15,000. And they gave me $15,000 in a GI Bill, and I could use that to subsidize my schooling. And while I was in the service, it was a great energy diffuser, because when I graduated high school, the last thing I wanted to do was sit in a college classroom for any length of time. I had struggled. I was a C student, and I needed to get out and see the world. And the Navy paid me to see places like Puerto Rico, El Central California, Fallon, Nevada, Hong Kong, Singapore, Oahu, Australia, Perth, Australia, Tasmania, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, United Arab Emirates. And when I got back after my 4-year tour of duty, I was amazed at how expanded my education and reality had become. I was really exposed to things that I was far ahead of my friends. My friends were still experimenting with pot smoking and still partying and stuff like that. And when I went back to that same group of friends, I was no longer a part of them anymore. I joined the Navy family, and I still am Navy through and through. And it was an honor and it was a privilege to serve. And I really respect those who served after 1999, because the nature of warfare in itself has changed. The American Empire has expanded so much that they're using now what we call them black shoes. Your basic average sailor is now being shipped off to remote parts of the world to defend with weapon in hand. And that's something that was never really seen prior to 1990 or even 2000. And so when our young people enlist now, you really have to be specific as to what you're getting yourself into or what you're promoting, because the rules of the game have changed. Under Clinton, there was no particular war, and we were, the job of my squadron was to enforce sanctions against Iraq, limit their ability to rebuild their military capacity. And it was and still is an exercise in colonialism. And it was interesting to see it so up close. I mean, I was participating in colonialism. And there is this tradition of colonialism that goes way back to the Christian princes. And when the Christian princes would expand the Christian kingdom, they would get certain benefits. And many better benefits come from this tradition, this European tradition. And so when I enrolled for graduate school here, I wanted in-state tuition, of course, so I didn't have to wait a year. And I was hoping that the Native American tuition bill would be passed, so I would get that discount. And unfortunately, it wasn't. So I had to essentially take out my Navy card and insist. And fortunately, I have my in-state tuition now, because veterans are allowed in-state tuition. It doesn't matter what state you're from. And I use that privilege. One other thing I want to talk about is when you're transitioning from the service to civilian life, it's very traumatic, because things aren't as regimented anymore. And so it took me a year to stop making my bed with 45-degree angles and quit folding my shirts square and perfect. And I was really a changed person, and still am to some degree. And the level of discipline that I have, organization, self-confidence, is incredible, because the U.S. Navy doesn't mess around. The reason the U.S. Navy is my favorite armed forces branch, and I respect all branches, but the reason I chose the Navy, outside of my grandfather, was because the Navy is the only force in the world that controls under the sea, above the sea, land, and air. And that's immense. That is a fantastic power to yield on the world. We essentially control the ocean. And that is very important for us in our livelihoods. People don't even know. We make sure that oil from Iraq comes over here, And we spend about 33 million, on average probably gone up to spending about 40 million barrels a day now. And so anyone who joins the Navy is going to ensure that that flow gets to us so we can have REI gear, food, and manufacturing, and jobs, and human development, and universities, interstate systems, and roads, and each other. It's a good point. So, I don't know if I would do another tour again. I think if it was absolutely necessary, I definitely would step up. But I'm embarking on this new mission of political science and a graduate degree, and hopefully a PhD. So I want to thank you. If you have any questions, please feel free to pull me aside afterwards and talk to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Reed.
All right, I can't speak while sitting down. I was told that's a Native thing. We like to tell stories with our hands and our bodies, which I learned actually last year. I'm a part of 5 different tribes, and you're probably sitting there like raising your eyebrow, like, how could that be? Well, unlike a lot of Natives, I wasn't aware that I wasn't even Native. Our family was disconnected from our tribes. We just assumed we were Hispanic. I mean, you know, my grandfather was in the fields picking fruit in the 50s. So we just, you know, we kind of looked like them. We were brown. We had brown hair. Why not? Heritage wasn't that important at the time. It was survival. My grandparents made sure that my parents were Americanized, the best American you can have, because they were, you know, they were being segregated as well as other minorities back in the 50s, and they didn't want their kids to be discriminated against. So we lost all our heritage, we lost our identity, and people don't realize how important that is to the individual. When I was a child, I didn't fit in anywhere. I wasn't Mexican enough. I didn't speak Spanish. I didn't know how. A lot of people thought I was Filipino. I got Hawaiian a couple of times, Samoan, Inuit. My mom, she told me that I'm like the Lou Diamond Phillips, the female Lou Diamond Phillips. You just put me in a group and I just blend in like I'm a chameleon. So growing up, I didn't know where I belonged. I had no idea. So the first tribe is that of my brothers. I'm the oldest of 6 kids. I have 4 brothers and 1 sister. And we lived in poverty. It's not easy, you know, having 6 kids. My dad worked hard to make sure we had the essentials. We lived at subsistence. So we had to fight the world together, the 6 of us. We had to face everything. Hunger. You know, a child shouldn't be worried about whether or not they're going to eat, but we did. We even faced racism at a young age from other children. We had to defend each other. We had to be a unit. We had to be together. We had to fight together. We had to protect each other and make sure that nobody hurts ours. That is our first tribe. When I was graduating from high school, my counselor said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I looked at her and I was like, "Oh my God, I have to make that decision right now?" That's an intense decision to ask me. I didn't want to graduate for the very fact that I wasn't, you know, I had no idea, no direction. All I knew was taking care of my brothers and my sister. All I knew was working at Taco Bell and going to school. That was my life. I didn't know about my heritage. I didn't know who I was, where I stood, who do I belong to. I don't look like my mother. She's Spanish. She's tall. She's slender. She has fair skin and black hair. I don't look anything like her. I don't look like my father. He is strong, thick, muscular, jet black, coarse hair. He looked more Mexican than the rest of us, but I didn't look like anybody. And I felt alone because who do I identify with? So I was scared. I was being pretty much thrown into a world of being an adult, and I didn't feel like I was prepared. I knew how to survive. I know how to live without electricity and how to eat minimal amounts of food. You know, so I knew at the basic, I could take care of myself in those terms, but I didn't know how to make decisions on what my future is going to be, because I didn't know who I was and what my past and my ancestry was, and that's so important. My second tribe is the United States Navy. They chose me. I didn't choose them. I actually tried to go in the Air Force, but the recruiter couldn't be bothered to drive to Temecula, California. It was an hour and a half, so I was pretty disappointed because I was in junior ROTC Air Force in high school, and I wanted to continue that, you know, path. But it didn't happen that way, you know, but it worked out for the best. A lot of things that don't work out the way I hope and anticipate always work out for the better. Better things happen when I just let life take over its own instead of me trying to steer it. So I ended up in the United States Navy. I was a Spanish linguist, so I finally got to learn how to speak Spanish after all these years. 6 months intense language training, having to learn how to speak a language that I've been dying to know my whole life. Because I was like, yes, finally I can learn how to speak Spanish and I'll finally be considered a full-blown member of the Hispanic nation. Well, you hear the way my voice is, I speak this way in Spanish as well, so they know I'm not one of theirs. They laugh at me. So, but it's okay, because now I know a different language. At least I got to fulfill that dream. And when I got out of the Navy, it was hard. It was terrifying. I had this family. We were a tight-knit group. We were, you know, I was in intelligence. We knew things about, you know, well, we knew a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't know, and we couldn't talk about, and we were able to help each other get through a lot of hard times because we couldn't go home to our families and tell them what we were dealing with, what we were listening to, what we had to deal with. It was all secret. And it's you know, by divulging this information to anybody outside of that group, it's considered treason. We signed a 50-year contract saying we won't talk about it. So when I got out of the Navy, I had nobody. I couldn't talk to my family about what was going on. I couldn't talk to the people who were still in. I was all by myself. I felt so lost. I got out in 2006, right before the housing crisis really became an issue. People, like, confidence was already wavering. People were getting laid off left and right. I ended up homeless outside of the Navy. I lived in my car for 2 months because I lost my family, my Navy family. I couldn't even admit it to my regular family that here I am once again dealing with the things that we went through. I should have evolved as a human being to not allow myself to get there again, but it happened. I had no purpose. I was lost. I was scared. I was so depressed. I was angry. I didn't even know I could have anger issues, but I was enraged, so angry, because I felt like at one point I was a part of this bigger mission, this bigger idea, this bigger group of greater good. And now who am I? I'm all by myself. Just me. I don't mean anything to anybody. In order to save myself from being homeless, I used the Montgomery GI Bill. I didn't think I was smart enough to be in college. The only reason why I used that GI Bill is because somebody said it pays you a monthly stipend, and I was excited because it was like, well, I don't have a job, I can't get a job, nobody's hiring, but I get this monthly stipend, so I don't have to be homeless anymore. I got lucky because an elderly lady took pity upon me, and she let me live in her apartment complex for free, as long as I promised that once I get on my feet, I will start paying her. Out of the kindness of her heart, it was because she found out I was a veteran, and she thought that was ridiculous. A veteran shouldn't be homeless. And I did right by that lady. And I did right by everybody who ever helped me in my life, because I always want to pay it forward. And I always ask people, if you want to pay me back for what I do for you, just help somebody out. You don't know where they're at. I was close to committing suicide because I had no mission. I had no identity. Who am I? What am I supposed to be doing? So as like education, I started, I actually went to class. I never thought I would, I didn't think I would learn anything. I didn't think I was smart enough. Education wasn't a big thing in my family life because we were too busy trying to survive. We were trying to take care of our Maslow hierarchy of needs, and getting up to that top tier was not a priority yet. So eventually I moved out here to Colorado because this is where I was born. I was born in Denver, Denver General Hospital when it used to be that. My mother's here, my brother's here, my niece, my nephew, my entire family's out here. And I feel comforted. I don't see them every day, but I know they're there. And I feel comforted knowing that they're there. And I came to this school, and I remember somebody looked at me and said, "You are the most beautiful Apache woman I've ever seen." And I looked at him like, no, usually I get Filipino. People usually think I'm Filipino. But he said that to me, and I started thinking about it. And so me and my brothers decided to go dig deeper into our genealogy. So come to find out, through genetic testing, I'm Dutch. I didn't see that coming. Lipan Apache, Muscalito Apache, Aztec. So 3 ways to Sunday, and of course a little Spanish from my mother. She donated a little bit of herself to us. But it was exciting. It was exciting to know why I had these instincts that I had, these survival instincts that were so easily to me because it was passed down through our genes. It was passed down through our ancestors, whether we know it or not. It's in our blood to be survivors, to be fighters, to take care of each other. I joined the Navy because I wanted to be a part of something. I wanted to belong somewhere. I wanted to be a part of the greater good. So now I know who I am as a Native woman, but I still needed a mission. I was still lost. And that's when I decided, you know what? I should never see a veteran go hungry, homeless, uneducated, jobless. And if I want to see things be better, become better, I have to be a part of the solution. I have to. So I started volunteering. I joined the Veteran Student Organization. I learned how to help people, how to help them transition out of the military, because I know what it's like to be that terrified. Like he said, we're so regimented. I mean, I still fold 8 years, and I still fold my t-shirts the same way the Navy taught me. When I walk into a building without realizing it, I noticed it today, I took off my cover, I had a hat on, and without, just reflex, automatically took my hat off because we're not supposed to have our hats on inside. So those are still there. And the next tribe is me being a veteran. I'm here, and I'm not scared. I know who I am. So what I hope for in the future is that everybody just stops being about themselves and be more about being of service to others. Whether you're brown, yellow, green, I don't care. That's the most important thing, and that's what I hope for the future. Because if it wasn't for somebody to help me, I might not be here. And if I didn't help others, they might not be here either. Thank you.